y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Wanderlust collection that is available right now from Zoya. These were sent to me for review, and of course I'll link their social media and storefront down below. I'll be showing you both set A and set B today, as well as the new lipsticks all the way at the end. This is going to be a bit of a longer post, so go ahead and buckle up and I'll get started. So first up is Winnie, and this is described as a soft watermelon pink cream that is supposed to be a 5 on the intensity level, which means it's going to be a little bit more opaque. So there's a look at that bottle. These are flat creams, no shimmer in this one. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. I'll also be showing you some comparisons today. I don't think any of them are necessarily dupey, but I'll show you how it will fit into your collection. So to the right here is Winnie, and to the left is Rooney. Winnie is a little bit more brighter with stronger pink tones. So I'll go ahead and show you how it's swatched on my natural nail. Here's a look at that first coat. These are a little bit on the thicker side, but I definitely prefer that. I think with really careful application, you can get one coat out of most of these creams. I had a little bit of edge around my sidewall, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how it builds up with a second coat. This helped me clean up those edges a bit and for sure brings this one completely opaque. These were really easy to use. They also self-level really well and dry down super glossy. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo once more underneath artificial lighting, and then lastly at an angle. So next up is SD, and I feel like SD and Winnie were maybe just a few shades different. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like in the bottle. This is described as a rich bubblegum pink cream. So this does have maybe a little bit stronger pink tones. It's definitely maybe a shade darker. I'm going to go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'm going to show you a quick comparison again. So to the right here is SD, and to the left again is Rooney. They are completely different polishes, not dupey at all, but definitely in the same tone. So I'll go ahead and show you how it's swatched on my natural nail. Here's a look at that first easy coat. This one has much the same formula, really creamy, really rich. I did maybe have a little bit of streaking. I do go in with a nice thick coat here, so if you do thinner, you may for sure need 2. I had a little edge again there against my sidewall, so I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and show you how it builds up with a second coat. This second coat does help clean up those edges and also for sure brings this one completely opaque. Again, with a really careful application, I do believe that most of these could be one coat creams. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before top coat underneath artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo underneath that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Birdie, and this is described as a muted fuchsia pink cream. So again, this is more in the pink family. It does have a touch of maybe purple, and it is a little bit darker. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Birdie compared to another polish in my collection. So here's a look at Birdie to the right and then Bryn to the left. I think of all the comparisons in this lineup, these were the most similar. So you may not need both in your collection. I'll go ahead and show you how it's swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat of Birdie. This one has the same amazing formula, super opaque, really rich. I did maybe have a little bit of streaking, but I do like to go in with a nice thick coat. So I'll go ahead and let that dry and show you how it builds up with a quick second. So here's a look at that second coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker here. I don't necessarily think that you need to, but it did help clean up all those edges for me and brings this polish completely opaque. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo, again under that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Mandy, and this is where we start getting into some of the shimmers of this collection. Mandy is described as a shimmering berry pink. So this is a very gorgeous, very almost glowy on the nail. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you a quick comparison with Mandy and another polish in my collection. So to the right here is Mandy, and to the left is Azalea. These are completely different tones, but they do have that same almost glass fleck shimmer. So if you love Azalea, you may love Mandy as well. So here's a look at how it's swatched on my natural nail. One coat went on a little bit sheer. It was really smooth and really easy to work with. I had no brush stroking at all with this polish, which I'm really excited about. So I'll go ahead and let that dry and show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. I am going to go in a little bit thicker here because I know this is pushing more towards the sheer side. 2 coats really is going to bring this one right to the edge of being opaque. I feel like if you go thinner, you may need 3, but I was really happy with the opacity at just 2. So here's a look at that completed mini at 2 coats before a glossy top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting. And then once more at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Journey, and this is when we're finally moving on to more of the red tones. This is described as a shimmering strawberry red, so it does still have a touch of pink in there, that same really strong, gorgeous shimmer that almost glows on the nail. Here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you a quick comparison between Journey and another polish in my collection. So to the right here is Journey, and then to the left is Aphrodite, which has been a long-time fan favorite. These have completely different textures, but they are a little bit close in tone. So I'll go ahead and show you how Journey swatched on my natural nail. So this first coat goes on nice and smooth, really easy, but a little bit sheer. I feel like this is pretty typical for the Zoya shimmer formula. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. Again, I am going in with a nice hearty coat here. This does push this one right to the edge of being opaque. Again, if you do a little bit of a thinner coat, you may need 3. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and show you how it builds up with a third coat. I did still have a flash of nail line at certain angles. So here's a look at that third coat. I am going in for a nice thick third coat here. Even though I did 3 thicker coats, this did not get thick on the nail and also dried fairly quickly in between coats. 3 coats for sure, no questions, brings this one completely opaque. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath that artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo under that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Sonia, and Sonia is described as a summery crimson red cream. So this is a very bright red. I would say there are still some pink tones pushing through here. I'm going to go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you a quick comparison between Sonia and another polish in my Zoya collection. So to the right here is Sonia. My camera is blowing it out a little bit, and then to the left is Dixie. So maybe a little bit of closeness there. I wouldn't say you necessarily need both, but they are not the same polish at all. So I'll go ahead and show you how Sonia swatched on my natural nail. Here's a look at that first coat. I did go in for a nice hearty thick first coat. This brings us really close to being completely opaque. This is another one I feel like you could totally get away with one if you do nice careful application. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it builds up with a second coat. This one does dry down a little bit darker than it applies, which I really love. This is a perfect bright summer red. I think this is going to be amazing for pedicures as well. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. I really wanted to get these guys out into the sun, but it's been really sporadic here. Lots of rain, all that yucky stuff. So this is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Cora, and Cora is described as a muted coral cream. I feel like this is such a gorgeous wearable orange. It definitely leans more orange than red or pink for me. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Cora compared to a quick comparison in my Zoya collection. So to the right here is Cora, and then to the left I have a Rocha, and Rocha is a little bit deeper, maybe with some more red tones pushing through there. Definitely not the same polish at all, but you may be able to tell where it'll fit in your collection by that comparison. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one goes on just as smooth and easy as the other creams. I did go a little bit thinner here, but with careful application, again, I think that you could really push this into being a 1-coat cream. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and show you how it builds up with a quick second. So here's a look at that second coat. This is another polish that dries down just a little bit darker than it applies, which I really love. This second coat for sure pushes this one completely opaque. I had no issues or problems with these. They dry down fairly quickly, and they dry down pretty glossy. I do, of course, recommend a nice glossy top coat to help extend the wear and also make it that nice hard glass shine. So this is a look at that completed mani at 2 coats underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo, again, under that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Sawyer, and Sawyer is described as a soft taffy orange cream. So this is a little bit lighter in shade, definitely just as bright and summery. This is another flat cream, no shimmer running throughout here. I'll go ahead and show you a quick brush shot, and then I'll show you how Sawyer compares to another Zoya polish in my collection. So to the right here is Sawyer, and then to the left is Zahara. Zahara does have that beautiful shimmer running throughout, but these are pretty close in tone, so if you love Zahara, you're going to love Sawyer as well. So here's a look at how it's swatched on my natural nail. Here is a look at that first coat. I did go in a little bit thick here, but this does bring it really close to being completely opaque in just one coat. I did have a little bit of streaking here. I'll go ahead and let it dry and show you how it builds up with a quick second. So here's a look at that second coat. I did go in a little bit thicker here again. I don't necessarily think that you need to. That's just the way I like to work my polish. It did help me get really close to those sidewalls and bring this one completely opaque. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats underneath my artificial lighting before a glossy top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Scout, and Scout is described as a shimmering moss green. I don't have anything even remotely close to this in my collection. Granted, I do not have all the Zoyas, but this is truly a standout, unique polish for me. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Scout swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This one does go on just as smooth and easy as the others. It is a little bit sheer here, so I'll go ahead and complete this coat and then build it up with a second. Again, I had no problems with brush stroking or anything like that, just a nice, beautiful, soft, glowy shimmer. So here's a quick look at that second coat. I am going to build this up with a thicker second coat here to kind of amp up that opacity. This does for sure bring it closer to being opaque. I feel like if you go in thinner, you may definitely need 3 coats with this one. I am pretty happy with the opacity here at 2 thicker coats. I think that shimmer really helps bring this a bit more opaque faster as well. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats underneath my artificial lighting before a glossy top coat. I think that shimmer is going to be amazing with a matte top coat too. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle again under that same artificial lighting. So next up is Arbor, and Arbor is described as a rich olive green cream. So again, this is a flat cream, no shimmer running throughout, but it is super gorgeous. It does have those strong olive tones. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you a quick comparison between Arbor and another polish in my collection. So to the right here is Arbor, and then to the left is Ireland. Now these aren't really close at all. These are nowhere near being dupes, but they do have those same lovely olive tones. So here's a quick look at that first coat using Arbor. This one does have that same beautiful cream formula from Zoya. I did go in a little bit thicker, but this one is completely opaque in just one careful coat. If you do go in thinner, you may of course need to build it up with 2 coats. Here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo, again under that artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is River, and River is described as a shimmering cobalt blue, so this is another gorgeous shimmery polish. This one I was worried about being a stainer because it is that lovely bold blue color. I didn't have any issues, but I did use my Cutica strengthening base coat. So here's a look at that brush shot. I really don't have anything that compares to this one in my collection as well, so I'll go ahead and show you how it's swatched on my natural nail. Here's a quick look at that first coat of River. This one is pretty typical for the shimmer formulas that go in really smooth and easy, but quite sheer. So I'll go ahead and try to build this one up with a thicker first coat. I did have to dip my brush in again. Again, no brush stroking issues or anything like that. You just may have to take some time to build this one up a bit. That finish is definitely worth it. So I'm going to cap the tip here, let it dry, and show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker here with the second coat. It definitely helps build up that opacity and add some depth. I really think it's going to be personal preference on if you like this at 2 or 3 coats. I did still have a flash of nail line here, so I'm going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it builds up with a third coat. So here's a look at that third coat. Again, I am going in a little bit thicker here. This is just my personal preference. You may prefer thinner coats, but 3 coats for sure brings this one completely opaque. Underneath certain lightings, this almost had a little bit of a duochrome effect for me as well. I'll show it to you in the angle shot. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle, you can kind of see it turns into a bolder, brighter blue at certain angles. So the last polish I have to share with you today is the Lois, and Lois is described as a rich magenta violet cream, so this is definitely on the lighter and brighter side of things, still very summery. I really don't have anything within my Zoya collection that compares too closely to this one, so I'll go ahead and show you a quick brush shot, and I'll show you how Lois swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does have the typical Zoya cream formula, really smooth, really easy to work with careful application. This is totally a one coat polish for me. If you go in thinner, or maybe you need to go in for a second one, that's no problem at all. These build up and dry fairly quickly. So here's a look at Lois at one coat before glossy top coat underneath that artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo, again under that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So really quickly, I also wanted to show you guys the 3 new lippies that are available now from Zoya that are released alongside the Wanderlust collection. This is Kitty, Kirby, and Kay, and they were sent to me for review as well. So here's a quick look at Kitty. So Kitty is described as a neutral shimmering pink in a hydrating cream formula. Go ahead and show you a quick arm swatch, and then I'll show you how it photographed on the lips. It was a little bit subtle, but definitely super shimmery. So next up is Kirby, and Kirby is described as a bright sheer watermelon pink in a hydrating cream formula. This one is pretty sheer. It did apply mostly like a lip gloss almost, very glossy. So here's a quick look at how that photographed on my lips. And then finally I have Kay, and Kay is described as a creamy sheer red. This one did feel like it had a good amount of shimmer in there as well. It was very almost like a blush of color on the lips. So here's a quick look at how that photographed, and that does wrap up my swatch and review today. I feel like the lipsticks are very summery, very lip glossy almost, and very sheer. So if that's your thing, you're absolutely going to love them. If you'd like to see more photos of any of these products, I do have them available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com. These are available right now. If you'd like, you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I know this was a long one, but I'll see y'all next time.